What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking for a knife, and not just any knife, but one that, you know, you can cut fish with and make really good sashimi with. And of all the places I would expect to find a knife dealer, especially a Japanese knife dealer, I did not think that Raumati Beach, small town with 30,000 people in North Island, New Zealand, would have a knife dealer. But here we are. Thanks to some Googling, I found this guy, and we're gonna go check out kind of knives that he has. Hello again, lads. So let's see that studio. Whoa. Such a small space, but the amount of knives in here probably could buy a car. And that's a cool photo. I'd use that as my dating profile photo.
I'm 27, started about 7 or 8 years ago when my wife and I used to make preserves. Japanese jams, relishes. Spent loads of hours chopping fruit and veg and learning about knives and how a blunt knife can be a real pain to use when you're trying to work for long hours. So started looking into knives and started learning that some knives are better for the job than others, and started learning how valuable it is to be able to sharpen your own knife, and taught myself to sharpen using whetstones, Japanese whetstones. And then over time found that I fell in love with knives, different types of knives, and the sharpening process itself, which I really enjoy. So I got myself trained and started sharpening other people's knives. Then a couple of years ago we stopped making the preserves and I moved fully into importing knives and providing a knife sharpening service. Okay, so a quick run through on the knives that we've looked at today. Starting with the Gyuto, or the cow's knife. This is a 210 mils long, standard chef's knife, multi-purpose, and being 210 mils, it's a good length for a chef to use. This one's stainless steel, so it's less likely to rust in a kitchen, or if you've got family around who aren't looking after your knife as well as they should. And this one's $280. We then have a Santoko, which is your home cook's knife, multi-purpose knife. So it's the same as the Gyuto, it's a little bit shorter. This one's 165 mils long and a little bit deeper in the blade, so it's easier for a home cook to use. This one's stainless steel, got a beautiful finish on it, and is $185, so it's a good entry-level Japanese knife. We then have the Nakiri. This is the vegetable knife. This looks big like a cleaver, but actually it's a very, very thin blade, and it's designed for chopping straight down through vegetables, hopeless on meat or slicing. This is a really nice VG10 stainless steel, beautiful finish, very light knife, so this is $280. Moving into smaller knives, this is a type of paring knife. This is a mukimono. So this is a vintage knife, this one. This is 30 or 40 years old. This is designed to be used in the hand. It's single bevel, so you can see the bevels on this side, not on this side, and it's designed to roll root vegetables in your hand. Japanese chefs spend years training how to do that well. Because it's a vintage knife and they're quite rare, this is $400. We have the Deba, so this is your Japanese fish knife. Very thick in the spine here. I think it's about 7 millimeters across the spine there, so a really thick knife, quite heavy. Single bevel, so the bevel's on this side, right-handed knife, and very, very sharp, really good steel, high carbon steel, takes a great edge. Does mean that it'll rust if you leave it wet or dirty, so can't be neglected, but fabulous to use. This one's mid-range Deba, it's $390. Beautiful to use, very different from using a Western fish knife. And then here we have a Yanagiba. So this is a 270 millimeter long Yanagiba sashimi knife. This is the one that you use single stroke to cut through your fish or whatever sashimi you're making. right-handed again, the bevel here on the right side, concave on the back side. They're handmade, hand-forged by Kikuchiyo, very good chef, blacksmith, and sharpened by Manzo, who is a very well-known specialist sharpener, to give this beautiful finish on the blade. Very, very nice knife, $490 for this one.
Now this is how much was this one again?
This is $650.
And made in Japan?
Made in Japan, hand forged, hand sharpened, hand polished.
How do they get this the satin finish and the clear fold at the end?
Yep, so the clear will be polishing. You'll have two different metals, and they'll polish this so that comes up sharp, and then they'll polish this. I'm not sure what this finish is called. Some of them have a specific name, like if I bring this one down, that black finish here is Karuchi, and that's where you leave the finish from the forging on the blade, and it protects the blade. This finish is I haven't seen another finish quite like this.
Can you talk about this one again, please?
Yeah, so that is from scratch. That's it's a Gyuto, so it's a multi-purpose chef's knife, good for veg, animals, etc. It's 210mm, so it's a good working length. Wire handle, Japanese handle. It's high carbon steel. It's white number 2, so it's less common than the blue number 2. It's a really nice steel. The blacksmith is Kikuchiyo, who is a really good blacksmith who gives knives to Hitahira, Japan, to sell. And the sharpener is Ren, who I understand is his grandson, who's coming out of his apprenticeship. So the sharpening on this is not quite as polished as you'd say for somebody like Manzo, who did the Yanagiba we were looking at, but he is really coming on in his sharpening, and these knives are just not going to be available at this price going forward. Another year or two, and these will be twice the price at least.
So I bought this knife. Being here in New Zealand, I have been struggling to find a knife that actually is sharp enough to do sushi. And you know, I'm not a sushi master by any means. I'm just a guy who really wants to get into making sushi while I'm here in New Zealand, simply because the seafood is just so fresh here. So let's talk about the blade for a second. I want to first give a big shout out, a big thanks to Lance for letting me go film this place and make a video there. He is so knowledgeable about knives, and I'm glad that he finally recommended this one for me. Now, why did I choose the Gyuto and not the Yanagi or the Deba or all these other knives that would be very important in making sushi? Well, the answer is I'm left-handed. I'm left-handed, and I already own both the Deba and a Yanagi back in Bangkok. And as a left-hander, it's really hard to find a Japanese sushi knife because they're not actually ambidextrous. You have bevels on only one side of the sashimi knives. And being a person that already owns both types of the fish knives that you're supposed to have, the Deba and the Yanagi, I figured this Gyuto would be an awesome all-rounder. Why? Because, well, one, it has the elements of a Japanese knife all there. The high carbon steel, the super sharpness, the cute wooden handles. But one thing that's totally missing from this experience is the single bevel. Now, it doesn't really matter that much having a single bevel or two bevels, except for the fact that having two bevels means you have to sharpen both sides. Whereas when you have just a single bevel knife, you just have to sharpen one side. So yes, it's a little more maintenance when it comes to sharpening, but the benefit of having this is it's a high carbon steel, super sharp knife. And what we're really looking for in a Japanese knife is something of that quality, like hard and sharp as hell, because you don't want to bruise fish when you're eating it raw. So the problem is when you cut a knife with a blunt, sorry, when you cut a knife, the problem is when you use a knife to cut fish, and if it's not sharp enough, you're gonna bruise the flesh of the meat, and once you do, you're not gonna have a really nice cut. Well, alright guys, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you Lance and number 27 Knives for introducing me to this beautiful Gyuto. I look forward to using it in future videos. So for you guys still watching, please let me know in the comments, would you buy a $250 Gyuto knife? And while I'm here in New Zealand, what should I be using this knife on? But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time in the next video. My name is OZbangkokhooker, and sawadee krap. While you guys are in the comments, can anyone tell me how to pronounce this part of the knife? I mean, I don't really know how to read kanji, so if anyone could tell me just what this says, I'd be really grateful.
Okay. I think it's about time for me to go. Like I dive deep. Like I'm last week night with the flow here. Johnny boy, my peeps. I'm an infotainment state. My brain ain't contained. Shit keeps spilling out. I'm belligerent insane. My drink don't stay in place. That shit's in my mouth. I'm just two girls, one company. Keep it hipster like succulents. My main bitch be